Hi everyone, welcome to the Superhuman Switch podcast. I'm your host, Saf. I'll be talking with business owners, startup founders, and corporate executives striving to maintain a healthy lifestyle. Today I'm joined with a guest, actually he's a friend of mine, Theo, the owner of Scandinavian Physiotherapy in GLT Dubai. A physiotherapist, I call him the magician. Again, it's quite unique because the way they approach the business and his clients and his facility. So, Theo, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Afan.
Today, I would like just to cover an interesting point and something that really we had several times a conversation around is the recovery and the physical awareness, I would say.
Sure.
My humble experience and the injuries, head, shoulders, knees and toes. I had a lot of multiple injuries, and you played a huge role trying to fix me. And I really appreciated also the advice that you gave me along the way when I'm taking care of my physical fitness and how you treated my injuries. So again, thank you very much for being on the show. I'm super excited.
Well, I just want to say first off that of course I'm honored. We were talking about you're going to do a podcast. I'm like, oh my God, he's going to ask me to be on board and whatnot. And finally I got invited. So I'm super stoked to be here. And so of course I'm very happy for you to say that I helped you out in a good way. And I just want to say from my side, I mean, you are probably one of the most easy clients to work with, because you're on it. You understand every word coming out of my mouth. You just click, boom, right? And that's an easy client.
Yeah.
Right.
Again, it's from the beginning of when I started to visit the clinic, and you took over of the main injuries I used to have. We had a couple of conversations how to avoid them, and you were really delicate on how to cascade the information. Of course, the treatment that you were able to cover in multiple sides. But the interesting part is that I started to continue visiting the clinic as a maintenance. And again, this is where I believe the recovery part, it plays a huge part in our lifestyle.
Yeah.
So again, just maybe we can give for the audience to know who's Theo and the background, because I'm interested to know why you jumped to this space.
Yeah. I took my physiotherapy degree. It's more than 20 years ago now. I'm from Denmark, and it came about that, I was kind of a late bloomer in the sense of taking a degree in anything at all in life. I was just like a hobo, traveling a little bit and enjoying life and whatnot. And then I saw a few of my friends going to uni. Halfway through uni, I'm like, oh shit, let me get on the train, right? And then I was looking at what do I enjoy to do in life. And I enjoy training, moving, experience the body in different ways and contexts. And then, of course, physiotherapy came to mind. And also I had the degree so that I could, or the numbers on my certificate, so that I could actually apply, and I had a fair chance to get in. So I got in. And then I was having my clinic in Denmark for many years. And, then I guess I had my first little midlife crisis around my 40-year mark. And I was like, oh my God, am I going to stand looking out of this window for the next 20 years or whatever, right? And I'm like, maybe not. And then I had a little diversion going to Egypt, in fact, first. I stayed in Sinai, and I was there for about a year. And, it was I was a refugee of love, so a woman brought me there, or I was there on my own will.
Okay.
But long story short, didn't work out. And then I had a friend in Dubai here, and he told me, maybe swing by Dubai. And me being not having the best experiences as my first arrival in the Arab world, so being Egypt, I was like, I'm not gonna put my eggs in another Arab basket, so to speak. But then I came to Dubai, and you drive down Sheikh Zayed Road there on your first visit, and what the hell, this is different. And then shortly thereafter, I was lucky enough to meet my business partner as today, Reem, a Danish physiotherapist, and she's always looked to the Arab world, and particularly to Dubai, because she has friends and family here, and she always kind of had the dream to open something. And within a few short months, we met a few times, and I was ready to rock and roll. Let's do something. Okay. So we just head dived straight in and opened a clinic here without really knowing too much about the whole thing.
It's since this what year actually you started?
So this is 2013. We started.
Okay.
Actually, we started the process in 2013, and I believe we got the license to operate in March of 2014, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think back then it was kind of limited when you see the facilities where the physiotherapy. It was not yet competitive as today.
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, let me just concentrate on JLT. At the moment, there was one other, let's say, standalone facility there. I think there was a medical center who also did some physio, but we had one kind of competition in town, in that end of town. Then we opened up, and after a few years, they closed. But I think if you just make a Google search for physiotherapy in JLT, it's going to be like, I want to say like 5 clinics maybe.
Yeah.
So the physiotherapy as a specialty here in Dubai is certainly maturing. And I think probably it's a little bit overkill at the moment. I think there's a little bit too many clinics. But, I don't mind competition on my side. It's fine. It makes you more sharp.
That's the competition, in my opinion, in any field or any industry is interesting and good in most of the cases, because at least it drives the awareness of the physical awareness and the recovery. So I will step into this topic because, again, as I mentioned at the beginning, I faced some injuries, and most of the time between relying on an experienced specialist who can take care of you or try to learn how to take care of yourself.
Yes.
So I'm really interested to hear your opinion about, okay, do you prefer to treat the client or the patient or the injured person and let him learn by himself to make sure that he's recovering, or do you try to manage the type of injury, or if it's chronic injury? So I'm interested to understand your perspective on this.
Yeah, but this is really why, if there's any young listeners out there who's thinking about going into physiotherapy, I say go for it. It's the most exciting job you can have in this world. Every single client walking in the door is different. You study for 3.5 years, and maybe you do some postgraduate, or you should do postgraduate and so on, and make yourself better and sharper and all those things. But you'll realize after some time that whatever you read in the book, that's just like a norm, right? That's just the bell curve. And what about all those other people, which seems to be most of them? They're outside the curve. So that I think my point is that every single client needs to be managed just a little bit differently. So in terms of, do I want the client to take full ownership? Yeah, that's the ultimate scenario, I guess. Many people are not able to, or sometimes not even willing to. And I'm still here for them, for sure.
Yeah. This is what I noticed when I started to go to Scandinavian, is that your approach is quite unique, is you educate and not only treat. But as you mentioned, depends on the maturity of the client, or if he's interested.
Yeah.
Because there is a big difference between if it's a sport injury or someone is like with a chronic issue, like especially the spine. But the approach that you follow, and again, this is based on my experience with this, is that you have the conversation to make sure that you are educating the client.
Yes.
It's quite fascinating because, again, people, sometimes they prefer to be educated, at least to have this kind of self-awareness, body awareness, and how to learn how to recover.
But again, you can collect all the data points about this and that injury, and you can then say, okay, let's make a protocol that seems to fit into whatever metrics we find and whatnot, right? The most important thing I can give to the client is give the client a feeling of, how does your body work? Because I have my bell curve here. I know where most people feel their body when they do certain movements or have certain pains and what helps them or not. But I want you to be curious about, okay, where do you fit in that? Are you an outlier, or do you smack right in the middle? Which, I don't know, it's extremely rare that you see one fitting just the model is exactly as it says in the book.
That's true.
So I think the most important, when you go to see the physio or in life, is like, experience it. How do you feel? I had a lady just the other day. So she has a trainer. I mean, she's a high level, actually, bodybuilder. And she comes to me with, I mean, because she's in a loading phase, so she's really, adding the pounds. I think she mentioned she squatted like 160 kg. She just like annihilated me. I mean, it was embarrassing. but the point was, then she had a little niggle, and a friend of hers here in Dubai told her, oh, you should go and do cupping. And then her trainers told her, and she said, I went for the cupping, kind of felt good, but my trainer got so angry with me because he says there's no evidence for it.
Okay.
I'm like, who the hell is he to tell you this? You felt better? End of story. Do more of that.
It's more like psychological. This is where I'm interested to have the conversation with you about the body-mind connection. Several times we had this conversation, and sometimes we have this kind of a pain management skills that to overcome the pain. And I have a friend of mine who was a part of this episode actually last time, talking about his knee injury and how he started to go through the pain by strengthening all the joints around it and the muscles to ensure that, okay, I'm in a strong recovery path. And again, we had this discussion in multiple occasions that, okay, how the body is wired to protect our body, where to avoid the pain, where it becomes like part of the system, and your body, or basically yourself, trying to avoid this type of movement pattern to make sure that you're not getting injured in that spot.
Yeah.
So
and this is where the fascination with the body just keeps inspiring me. Is we have ways of avoiding the pain, and when I see, let's say, if you put yourself at the finishing line at a marathon, and you're gonna see the first 100 guys who are excellent. I mean, they're really the top, right? Some of them, they come like sideways over the finishing line, right? They're kind of, it looks absolutely horrible. And you think like, how can he perform this well? He's in the top 100. And he comes in running like that. Compensation.
Yeah.
He's an excellent compensationist, right? So he manages his injuries or whatever is hurting him because he's not straight as an arrow, but he manages it and he performs extremely well. So sometimes it's also like, how much do you want to fiddle with it? I want you to be the best you can be. Do I really care if you're straight as an arrow or not? In my opinion, who the hell cares?
Yeah. Who fixed you if you got injured?
Yeah. So of course I'm gonna go to my therapist first, and but I have so many tricks in my sleeve that I try to implement maybe a few movements in the gym, or some very generic stuff, really, a little bit of foam rolling here and there. But sometimes, I also lift, as you know, right? And sometimes I truly get stuck in my facet joints, and I just, oh my God, difficulty sleeping at night because it just cannot move. And I guess that's a point where it's like, if it cannot move, okay, let's try to help you. But if you can move, even though it looks funny, go for it. You see my point?
Yeah. It's but again, last time I wanted to ask you the question that when someone is treating you that, okay, this kind of, maybe this doesn't work, or this is like it's not working with me. So I just always like question that, do you have someone really to understand you very well? Because again, sometimes the human doesn't understand what are the issues, or we think that the body awareness is in place, where in reality, no. As you noticed in the end of the marathon, or sometimes when I showed you one day I was squatting, I was like having a shift, but you don't realize this. So this is what I always like find, that when you do the assessment, you pinpoint exactly where's the issue.
Yeah.
Which is, in my opinion, it's the most fascinating skills. And you also covered the point that you appreciate the fact that you have this kind of human connection, and to understand basically how the client is moving, or the moving pattern, and how you fix that.
What do you need to fix, and what do you just leave alone? I usually say there's kind of like an absolute, as far as I practice at least, is like, if your body joint cannot move in certain anatomical planes, we will do our best to make sure that you can move. Now, do you want to use that movement to anything? That's up to you. But I just know that if your body is completely locked up in a certain rotation or something like that, you're probably in pain. It's not going to feel very good. So let at least give you the movement ability. And then when you go and do your sport, which of course everybody should do sports and whatnot, right? And you wanna use that to propel you forward in your sport. That's up to you.
Some of the practices that I usually do to make sure that I am avoiding the injuries, but by the end of the day, we push sometimes the limits.
And I'm not throwing you under the bus here, but you're one of the guys that are absolutely on point with every little micro strategy to get yourself healthier, stronger, more mobile, and whatnot.
Yeah.
You still get injuries, right?
Absolutely, but that's why it's like it's a price we pay if we need to push a little bit, and we enjoy because basically you know a little bit about my activities. Sometimes I stopped a little bit the CrossFit. Now I'm doing a little bit powerlifting. Sometimes preparing to mountaineering. So I'm always try to challenge myself in different modality. And when you experience new things, there is a high tendency to get injured.
Yes.
But that's why, and it's important to always drop the ego and try to bring an experienced, basically individual who knows how to look into things in a more structured way. That's why when I believe, and you've been with me in the journey from the beginning, my concept, which is trying to balance between mindset, nutrition, movement, and recovery. And recovery is my favorite part. And again, most of the discussions we have with my friends to make sure that the recovery becomes an important element because it will make you or break you in most of the cases. But again, that depends on the activity you do.
But you know, Safan, sometimes you need to, as you know, I love you as a brother, but your level is extremely high, and I think I told you before, but you're like up there, right? And you don't. I mean, so I'm the physiotherapist. You can't imagine what I'm seeing in the clinic. Right. So I see people who are broken down because they just don't sleep at night. You're going to have like how many hours do you get? I like to sit up and watch Netflix or play or whatever. I go to bed at 2 and I wake up at 6 or whatever. Have a stressful job, eat shit food. A lot of people are living that sort of life. So when you're talking about recovery and so on, cover the basics first. And then all the little fairy dust on top that you are doing, that's only if you've covered all those bases.
I love this. Again, because sometimes we live in a bubble. We think that the fundamentals are covered. I love this topic because I realized, and again, some of my friends that comes to me and ask me about how to fix that okay, we question these points because we believe that that's the most important part to have a proper sleep. But fundamentally, you have to take care of your nutrition. So everything is like, it's like a compound effect. And in my opinion, maybe the recovery is the cherry on top, or something that it's nice to have, but that they must to have. But I like that you go back to the fundamentals because sometimes we neglect them in a way or another. But again, it's this is where I'm interested to cover, because in your clinic, especially you, when any client comes in, you cover all these topics. You don't only cover, okay, let me do this session and voila, you're done. But no, you take it through the process. You cover multiple points from different perspectives. And that's up to your curiosity and the patient curiosity. Because some people that, okay, just fix me, I'm done.
But if that's the case, now I can respect that. People who are chairman of a big organization or whatever. I mean, it's not going to happen. Okay, but this is what I can offer you then. It's the little quick fix, the little short recovery. You're going to feel great for a few days or a week or maybe a month, but we're not changing anything here. And I let people know that. Not because I want to like put them down. Of course I don't want to, but I also want to shake them a little bit and say, listen, the lifestyle you're living, you're not going to last. That's why you come to me, because you're starting to feel it now, and you're not going to last. I can't say, maybe you can do it for the next 5 or 10 years and burn out. I don't know, but you're going to burn out.
That's interesting. And I remember once you instantly notice if the patient is intense. And you notice this several times with me when I come in with everything is like, I feel that I'm okay. And you told me that you're stressed and you're tensed. And this is where I don't want to like conclude that you turn it into not only physiotherapy, but like the therapy itself.
Oh yeah.
And you have this conversation openly.
Mm.
It depends on the relationship with the client. But what I really appreciated that you noticed this element, because we know that because of the stress and tension, you might be exposed more to injuries.
Oh, for sure, right? You sitting here at this moment, me sitting here at this moment, what you feel in your body, what your body is, right? That's a compound of everything you experienced your whole life. Fighting with your wife this morning, which I doubt you did, but all the tiny little things, traumas in the past, everything, your training last night and so on, did you sleep, blah blah blah, all of that, that's your body right now. So if you are like a high performer, you have a tendency, you want to high perform in all areas of your life. And those guys are, if they're into sports, it's going to be at the highest level. They're trying to really push the envelope, right? But if you are in a high stress, low sleep, shit food, tons of travels, work is chaos, and you didn't speak to your kids for a week because of this, that, and the other, and you just feel bad about it. You get my point. When you go to the gym and you push hard, that's a moneymaker for me, because you're going to break down. It's a matter of time. It's a matter of time. I'm not, like I said, I don't know. Maybe you can roll with it for some months or maybe even a year. You're going to break down. It's revving the engine to the 10,000 RPM every time you go in your car. It's not going to last.
Wow, it's a very good point. Corporate wellness, and I noticed recently you've done a couple of initiatives just to drive the awareness about how we move and how we sit, which I really basically love this initiative. And you even asked the team to visit some offices and educate them.
Yeah.
Where do you see the maturity or the awareness of companies about the importance of like sitting properly, how to look into the screens? The information is out there online. Everyone knows about it, but the application is the challenging part.
Yeah, I think I can say, generally speaking, that in this region, it's not really a focus point for most companies. I think I can say also that where we see it most is probably companies like that has an American base or maybe a European base, or because there already the wheels are turning. So there's an awareness within the companies that we need to implement certain things for our employees to be more healthy at the workplace. But here in US, I mean, I really only know Dubai, but I can assume that I think it's the same in the region. That it's not really something that is focused on. It's a maturing thing, and we're trying to just push the ball a little bit and just give a little bit. And by the way, these talks that we have one of our therapists going out and doing, I mean, they're for free. We're not charging anything. So it's just an awareness campaign. Of course, we're going to bring the logo on the T-shirt, but we just want to open the eyes of the people out there to how do I survive a work life that's going to hopefully be very long and productive, as healthy as I can be.
Again, this is where I appreciate it, because it's a matter of awareness.
Yeah.
Two things. Now you're driving this kind of awareness in the office space, but we all know that because of COVID, a lot of people, they were like working from home, where the being in your comfort area that you might.
Don't get me started.
Yeah, it's that's why we mentioned this last time. I'm interested to know that is the injuries increase because of this kind of like habits, because most of the people, they either working from the sofa, or they don't have like station at home where they can sit properly, or even standing and working. And the Zoom syndrome also had a lot of impact on how we sit, how we interact.
Yeah.
So what's your perspective about this? Because
So first of all, I despise this work from home movement. I despise it. I think it's I can understand where people come from. They feel, oh, this is nice. You know why it's nice? It's comfortable. You are not supposed to be comfortable. This life is supposed to be hard. And this is a ridiculous little comparison, but take your shower, eat your breakfast, put on your clothes, go in your car, drive to work, have a little walk around, go down to the coffee shop, all those little things. Go and speak to your colleagues. Look at them face to face. Look in their eyes. What do the eyes tell you? Are they in a good mood, bad mood? Or, whatever is going on. This is like human connection. This is what we are meant to be doing as human beings. We're not meant to sit at home in our underwear all day being comfortable. As you can tell, I'm quite like, oh my God, what is this world coming to?
I love this. It's because in all cases we are in the most convenient phase in history, in my opinion. The accessibility to technology and you order everything through your application. There is no, I wouldn't say hardship, but at least effort. It's not even there.
Yeah.
This is where we are aligned on this principle.
Yeah.
But again, we have to respect that the opinion of others, how they are managing their individualism and how they are looking into the corporate they're working with. Maybe they're putting it as a reason. But seeking comfort is where I fully agree with you that even if you are working from home, at least you have to be active, or maybe you have like a proper healthy practices you do at home.
But again, Safwan, you're speaking from yourself. You're able to do this. Majority are not. Majority are not. They're getting more and more comfortable, meaning doing less and less. I mean, see, it takes something to just go for a walk, right? You need to pull yourself together, put on your trainers and go. Most people are like, you know what, I'm sitting nicely here in my sofa. Why would I move? That's the truth of it. It's the small little percentages like you that might be able to put a working day together, working from home and being maybe more active than if you were going to work. But most people are not able to do that.
And that's leading to injuries, right? You notice this pattern?
Yes, absolutely. We had a huge spike when, I would say, like, it only took like 3 to 6 months after like the COVID shutdowns. We've never been busier in the clinic. Never.
What are the common injuries caused by this?
No, that's going to be the, back pains, lounging on the sofa all day, being comfortable. You simply just not moving your body, tight necks, disc irritations, all sorts of manner.
It's an interesting topic because also I noticed that post-COVID people started to become more aware and active, and I strongly believe that again that the recovery is a major pillar. How do you, when you give an advice on how to maintain a healthy lifestyle? We covered this topic, but I'm interested to know, because you train and you are delicate on how you train to make sure that you're not exposing to yourself to injuries.
Yeah.
But is there any kind of a generic kind of advice you can give when it comes to the physical awareness on to avoid injuries, like a common one to start with?
Well, first of all, learn to use your body. Feel it. What does it do to you when you do Zumba class or Latin dance or go to the gym or do yoga? I want you to explore what makes you feel good. That's the first step. Right? Well, we see injured people all the time in the clinic, and I'm quite against like the physio handing out the paper, like do these exercises. But how long is that going to take? Or how long is that going to last? Not very long. So there is recovery for the person who sits in the office. His recovery is start moving, and then there's a recovery for you, a guy that is trying to achieve something amazing in the gym. That's a totally different type of recovery. So it's a very broad talk. You kind of see what my point?
Yeah.
But you would be try to make yourself supple, not too tight, and so on. You're of course overdoing it, right?
This is where we always have this conversation about Safwan, slow down on the yoga because you are putting a lot of stress on the joint. Yeah. And I noticed the difference. I followed your advice fully. Now instead of doing it on a daily basis, now I do it like twice or 3 times maximum, like not more than 15 minutes. And I followed your advice and I started to notice that, okay, there is the way I'm at least controlling my body under load, it's becoming better. That's, of course, supported with the program that I'm following. But it's what's your idea? Because if someone like me is like pushing a little bit more on the flexibility and trying to achieve something else when it comes to the weightlifting, again, is it something that you strongly believe? Because again, I will not argue the discussion. I'm not specialist. Where some people know, they believe no, you can do this activity and you can complement it with strength. there will be no compromise.
Well, there will. At a certain stage, there will. Because if you're going for the peak lift, how are you going to do a peak lift with almost hypermobile joints? Or let's say at least your peak lift will be way less in terms of numbers than if you are quite stiff. You need a lot of intrinsic stiffness in your body to lift a very heavy load.
Okay.
Right? And on the other aspect, like if you want to be super supple and put your foot behind your neck, it's going to just be difficult if you have a lot of muscle mass. So they're kind of countering each other. Now, I do believe like a good middle ground is probably where most people should aim for, right? But if you want to really push the envelope in one direction, you have to let go of this one over here.
Okay.
Or, you don't want to, you can't push the envelope in two directions. Or you can, but you are not going to get the ultimate result in either direction.
You'll be mediocre and
yes,
both of them.
Well, you're probably going to be strong, but you're not going to be as strong as you cut down on all the yoga.
Yeah, I mentioned mediocre because this is sometimes what I feel. And what you did for me when you told me that slow down on this and focus only on this, then you can introduce. I started to notice that, okay, I'm more getting better in that side, which is the heavy loads, and trying to enjoy even the stability and the flexibility that I'm getting because of the stretching.
An interesting point now, these are the yoga people that I see, and they get... I think I can say they get primarily injured because they push the range of motion, right? They go for the range of motion, they let go of their strength in the position. Okay. So you can do a certain pose and you can go for pushing the envelope in terms of how far can I really go? And then at a certain stage, you're going to start overstretching a ligament, say, right? Or even a capsule of a joint, or even a meniscus gets stuck or not torn, but it gets irritated because you're really twisting that knee. My point is that so when you keep pushing for the yogis in one direction, meaning you're going for your mobility as far as you can take it and whatnot, you're gonna get injured at some stage. The point is, I try to make them feel their body in a little bit different way when they do their yoga. I'm trying to tell them, go into your pose. Go, as far as you can while feeling strong. Because at the very end of your movement in the yoga, to go as far as you absolutely can, you need to let go completely of your muscle tension to right? And that's where there's a little chance of an injury, right? So I try to tell them, try to go as far as you can, being super strong.
Keeping the torque.
Keeping the tension in all the tissues, then your risk of injury will be minimal, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, the other end of that spectrum will be the extreme power lifter. He can't reach, he needs help to put on the socks and whatnot, right? Now he's gonna go in there and load his tissue also with immense weight. And you only have so many lifts in you. And at a certain stage, you're gonna get injured. So if you're going for extremes, you're going to get injured.
That's where I prefer the functional type of workouts because it brings a little bit balance between both of them. Not to be strong and non-functional, and not to be hypermobile where the range of motion is compromised. This is where I followed your advice from the beginning because I was going in one of the spectrum and then, I slowed down. I need certain objective because my objective is to make sure that I'm functional. If there is any activity, I can jump into it with no hesitation, I cannot do it because I cannot lift, or I cannot lift because I'm super flexible. But
and do you know what? This is something that unfortunately I have to admit, by many years of just denying that sport any credit, CrossFit. They're fucking amazing athletes. Amazing.
Yeah.
Right? For many of the lifts they do, for many of the movements they do, you have to be pretty damn flexible. And obviously you have to be very strong for other activities.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty well-rounded.
That's true. We had this conversation also several times, not to push it a little bit when you reach a certain age. I'm 43 years old, and I jumped into CrossFit since 2012, and I enjoyed basically the whole journey. But now I started to slow down because the introduction of being on the high side of competitiveness, it put me a lot of pressure, stress, covering and trying to avoid the injury and trying to recover from injuries.
Yeah. So the thing is that, again, if you want to go into competition and want to be the best, your risk of injury is high. So is for everyone else. It's just the name of the game. That's why there's only very few who's on the very top, because they can keep pushing and they can keep themselves injury free. You know, they're very lucky. Maybe they did a lot of nice rehab work. They're really on their recovery, getting their sleep, and everything is set up nicely, and they have excellent genes. They're just lucky.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're just lucky. They put in the work. They put in the work, and they're probably outworking everyone else. But they have all the other attributes as well, which makes them, top 10 or top 100 or whatever.
The surprising fact that even the top athletes, they are injured, but the way the injury management is what differentiates the rest of us. And what I realized that most of the people, they are not doing any certain activity because they have a knee injury or an elbow or a shoulder or a torso or like a hip injury, and they completely stop to make sure that they recover. And the interesting, basically, your approach to it when I come with a specific injury, that you don't have to stop. You have to slow down and trying to push through the pain and to have proper recovery protocol and not to totally stop, because this is where I challenge most of the people that sometimes they reach out, tell me that, I have a back injury. So the specialist told me to like stop for like 4 weeks. And like,
that's a recipe for disaster for sure.
It's this is where, again, it's where I appreciate that the way you look into this treatment is to make sure that you stay functional. You're taking care, you build up your body awareness, which I believe that everyone should have. But again, with life responsibility and other activity, people either they don't know how, or they say, why I should care.
See, it's difficult. It's difficult. So it's easy. I mean, it's easier to follow the protocol of the doctor. Don't do anything, lay low, take these anti-inflammatories, and come back, see me in a month. Right? That's easy. It's difficult to go into the gym and you're kind of hurting, right? And you hurt when you do the things that you normally do. Now you need to put this one into action and like, how can I work around that? And of course, listen, I'm a physio, so I'm also like, how can I say? I mean, I have an expertise that most people don't have. So I would know, okay, tweak it, try to do this. How does that work? Let's say, lateral epicondylitis is like a tennis elbow, right? So maybe you want to go to the gym. Maybe you want to train your shoulders. You want to do lateral raises. Now, if you take a dumbbell and raise it out like so, you're going to be hurting immediately. Well, why don't we put a weight around your elbow or the bands and then put it to a pulley, and you're working your shoulder while not loading your elbow? You have to be super creative. That's really what a good physio is, I guess. Like, you have to be, okay, how do we work around the injury? Well, how do we work around it? That's always important. Now, this lady, that big, bodybuilder, a lady who came to me squatting like insane weight and whatnot. So she told me, so I'm in my loading phase, I need to lift heavy. And I told her, well, if you keep pushing your envelope now, and you're probably going to go straight back to your injury again, maybe make it even worse. So why don't you use other modalities of loading so that you can decrease the weight but have the same stress on the muscle? Let's say instead of you having 160 on your back and do a squat, why don't you try 80? And then you drop down into your rep on a negative for maybe 5 seconds. Maybe you do a hold on the bottom and then you come up.
Tempo and pauses.
Right? Well, you're going to tear your muscle fibers. You're going to have an extreme workout. You're going to beat your quad. And because you cannot load it heavy, okay, let's be creative here. How can you still move? How can you still train?
Yeah. But again, we don't want to step into the CrossFitters or the bodybuilder, because there is a difference between the strength, and I strongly believe in the tempo and poses, where some of them, they focus more on the hypertrophy, so more reps, more weight. But again, the way you give the recommendation is fascinating in most of the cases. You mentioned the example of the elbow. I had golf elbow, tennis elbow, all the type of elbows. And you helped me a lot by being a little bit creative, how to make sure that you avoid or trying to find a way to make sure that you're exercising this area without putting impression on it. Where the tendons, again, you advise me a lot on the tendons, which is the most difficult injury in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because it's like the inflammatory and there is no blood flow.
Exactly. Like tendon, capsule, those kind, we call them non-contractile tissues. A muscle is a contractile, right? It attaches to a tendon, which attaches to a bone. The bone under extreme stress will break.
Yeah.
Now, orthopedic surgeon needs to come in. There's not really much we can do. But all the tendon and even the tendons deep in your knee, the cruciate ligaments, not a tendon, ligament, sorry, they actually heal on themselves. Probably not for all people. You need a certain kind of strength in the knee or around the knee so you can actually, do your daily things without keep jerking it. But you sometimes see they fully recover. So the recovery, so now we touched a little bit on the CrossFitters and the strength athletes and whatnot, but for the general public, if you like to train, you need to keep training. So it might be that, let's say your injury, maybe you had a shoulder surgery even. It was so bad you needed a surgery on your shoulder. You can't train. Well, what's wrong with your legs? Right? So I want you to go and figure out, how can I keep moving my body? How can I keep engaging all the endorphins, all the hormonal aspects of a good, strong workout, which will also help your shoulder to heal faster. Because it's going to be a global a bloodstream infused, like kick to the system if you can do a hard workout.
I see. I think it accelerates the recovery. Even,
yes, it does. It does,
yeah.
Indeed.
And again, it's my experience. I noticed that when you are moving, even walking, by the way, it's like recently I started to include the walking is in my lifestyle to make sure that it's a recovery and regarding the mental also.
Do you do it in the morning?
I do it in the morning and I do it in the evening now. I'm making sure that I'm having half an hour, sunrise and sunset. This is the timeline when I have the flexibility. And I've been doing this for almost like 2 months.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Yeah. You heard the Huberman podcast about the lateral eye movements and those things?
Yeah, it's like I've been following him for a while, even the other practices from Wim Hof, and I strongly believe that because I started to know when I started to do this, Theo, that I started to realize that we as humans, we are not exposed to outdoor anymore. Where it's totally different topic we can cover it. I'm sure that we're gonna have a conversation around it, but it's I started to notice that kind of like looking into the sunlight or the sky during the sunrise and the sunset, and it's fascinating.
And it's nature, right? You just click immediately like, oh, I feel something.
Yeah.
You can't get that feeling if you don't leave your house. Going back to those guys that are conveniently sitting at home, working from home, not even leaving they don't need to leave their house. You can order everything on the phone or whatever. Yeah. You lose something extremely important right there.
Yeah. Again, connecting with the nature is a totally different chapter. We're gonna have several discussions because also I had Benoit, the minister, last time, and he's more into the nature activities. And I'm natural. You know me very well that every year I do this kind of crazy activity to make sure that I get connected again.
Yeah.
Theo, what's next? What are your plans in Dubai? Because again, the whole physiotherapy, first of all, is booming. The awareness about it is really getting good. What's next? What are the future projects?
I think I'm very boring. Like me and my business partner has discussed many times. Let's venture out. Let's do something in Abu Dhabi. Maybe let's do something downtown or split the clinic up or whatever. No, man. I have enough stress as it is, right? So we have something good going on. We're just gonna roll that wave, and we don't have any plans to make a crazy expansion or anything. But see, as an entrepreneur, you're always looking to perfect what you already have. Or if you don't do that, you're gonna, the train is leaving without you. So, we just want to get even better at what we do. We want to keep being the 5-star clinic in JLT for sure. and just perfecting what we already have.
No doubt on that. Again, it's 5-star is a very low rating, but no, it's
So I was referring to our Google reviews. We're very happy that we have 5-star. See, it's gonna at some stage we're gonna tip over, of course, but at the moment actually we're keeping a 5-star, a clean 5-star, that's unheard of.
I think you mentioned this several times that you prefer to keep this kind of like connection with your clients.
Yes, I don't have a need to be like
to scale it up.
Oh, not at all. I want to enjoy life also.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes this is a good question. Like, why are you pushing yourself so hard? I'm not sure. It's just something I do. Well, are you happy? No. Stop. And we're happy right now. We're happy where we are. We have gained a name in the industry. Let's just do that. It's fine.
I love this. It's a different way, an interesting way to look into it, because especially for the high achievers out there, they always like to make sure that I can push even more. Chill.
Yeah.
Chill,
you remember our friend Mohammed from way back?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was also you do this, do that. I can. No, man. I'm happy right here.
Yeah.
I don't need to do it.
Yeah. It's again, Theo, thank you very much for being on the show. It's where people can find you. Of course, I'm gonna put the contact details.
Well, I think if you just want to know a little bit about who we are and what we do, you can check out. Just find us on our website. So it's scanphys.com. So SCAN
I'll put the links.
PHYS.com. Right? Scandinavian Physio.
Awesome.
Scanphys.com, and you're welcome.
Awesome. Again, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Again, thank you for listening and watching. This conversation is always basically will not stop here. We have a couple of like interesting discussions about recovery. But if you have any comment, any reviews, please reach out to me. And the objective is to improve on the show. So, Theo, again, thank you very much.
I loved it.
Superhuman Switch Podcast. Thank you very much. Bye.